was so
I would.
recently. Perfect. The last week, I ordered this herb called ashwagandha. You may have heard of it.
Right. Yeah, I know it.
And yeah, and you're supposed to take 1 pill a day, which is 500 milligrams. I thought nothing of it after a few days. I thought, you know what, I'll just take 2. Overdosed on it. And I looked up the negative side effects, which is fever, headache, irritable bowel syndrome, everything. So that's why I was so ill. I was just completely like put out. And because I never get sick. It's very rare for me to get ill. And when I looked it up, I was like, that's why. So it wasn't COVID or anything like that. So other than that, I've been all right.
Okay.
So
you didn't take a test or anything, no?
No.
Oh,
I've
okay.
never, I'll never ever take something like that.
Oh, well,
Half of it doesn't even work anyway. Half of these PCR tests don't work anyway.
I mean, that's the thing. I don't really want to stick something up my nose in there. God knows what's on the end of that.
Not doing that. I'm not going to degrade myself like that. Other people want to. That's on them. We'll see how this all turns out in a few years. We know. So we've got some interesting topics to cover, definitely, as you wanted to talk about. So power of semen retention, importance of masculine and feminine polarity between couples, dangers of red flags in women, why is the world so degenerate, and how to live righteously as a man. I really like that you come up with those, because that is properly structured, especially in today's world. And I think a lot of men watching are going to benefit from this talk. So, I mean, if you want to start off from your experience, because I know you're very into NoFap.
Yeah.
Power of semen retention. What benefits have you seen in your life from it?
Wow. For me, it all started when I was, a teenager, in this culture we live in. And I naturally just kind of, everyone was talking about porn, masturbation. You're like, what's this thing? Like, what's this thing everyone's doing? You kind of want to be a part of it. So you kind of experiment, let's say. And next thing you know, 2 years go by and you've spent your time just watching porn, and you don't think anything of it. You just think it's normal because no one tells you any different. No one tells you don't do that. That's bad. So I think I was about 15, 16-ish, and I was kind of just like depressed, like wasn't very confident, like the world just was like all like coming down on me, and I just couldn't quite work out why I was struggling. And one day I was like on YouTube just looking like, what was the answer? Like, how can I help myself? And I saw this thing in the corner, it said NoFap, and I was like, what the hell is that? Like NoFap. But for some reason I was like, you know what? I'm interested. Like, what is this? Clicked on it and then watched this video. And I'm not kidding, after that video, something inside me was just like, oh my God, this is the answer. Like, this is where I've been going wrong. And from that day onwards, I spent, well, obviously, to heal an addiction is very difficult. So I think I did about 4 or 7 days when I first started. I was so determined, like it was so serious to me, like it meant so much to help myself as a person. And I fell off, and then I was like, oh, let's try again. And years went by, and I kept coming in and out, and slowly achieved 30, 60, 90 days, then a year, then 2 years. And then at that point I was like almost at a level where it's just who I am now. Like, this is the norm. And speaking of like NoFap, I mean, looking at it, I wouldn't say like, let's not talk about the benefits I experienced when I was younger, because that was ages ago. But like right now, I find that I'm more, my brain works better. I have more energy. I'm more focused. I'm more driven. Like literally, your body just has this vitality topped up to the brim, and it just irradiates like energy and life.
Yeah, your testosterone is like maxed out.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's just really powerful. And it's been practiced in ancient cultures, like all kinds of different ancient societies, and the understanding of like the bodily fluids and the vital energy that we have, and how it, I mean, at the end of the day, you can create another life with this stuff. It's some potent stuff.
It's a huge responsibility that comes with it.
Yeah, and it should be used accordingly, But I think not only that, in terms of semen retention, I mean, if you look at like porn and stuff, it's so damaging, not just for men and women, it's damaging for both parties. It makes people weak, docile, and controllable. And, it's free. Anything that's free, you are the product. You are not using the product, you are the product, which is
a true statement.
So that's kind of what I think about it. And for me now, semen retention, I'm in a relationship, so it's not quite I'm not exactly like no fapping like I used to, I am, but I do feel that drop in energy. I do feel that kind of loss of vitality, and I need a few days to kind of recover and build it back up again. And that's just that's somewhere that's like a new part of my journey where it's like, okay, how can I incorporate this no fat, but with being in a relationship? Do you know what I mean? So that's something I'm still working on personally, but I know there's ways of like channeling that energy and, still being able to do things, but also retaining that energy, which I think is important. It's just hard skill to have, but nothing good in life comes easy. So anyway, what about you?
Very interesting to hear. Well, funnily enough, I hadn't heard about semen retention. I didn't look into it properly, I'd say a little over about a year and a half ago. Oddly enough, I've been into self-improvement and just researching and learning since I was a teenager. So going back all the way back to, I'd say 2014, that's when I really started learning everything I could. Now, a few times I'd heard the name dropped somewhere, no fap, and I just thought it was a fad, like, a ketogenic diet or paleo, something like that. And I always brushed it aside. Then when I started to look into porn, I think when I was about 18, 19, I realized, right, this stuff is seriously damaging. I need to stop. And I could see in my own life, like, it just tarnishes the way you see the world in general, not just women, because like your lust is on overdrive. And, to take the edge off, it was, as most men, you release from time to time, as most young men do, nothing of the sort. And then I'd say I've been doing semen retention for 11 months straight. I have not relapsed once. And that's when I've noticed my testosterone has peaked. I'm more relaxed. I'm more at peace. I've got laser focus. And all in all, I just feel more collected. I'm not like, I tend to be someone that's distracted because I'm always thinking about so many things at once. I've noticed I can always compartmentalize my thoughts now. I can organize myself better. And I think mastering that lust for men, it really is that rite of passage. Because at the end of the day, you look at ancient cultures, as you mentioned, semen retention has been a big part, people learning to retain their seed. But it's not just that. I mean, you go through different societies, it was literally something like you have to kill a lion to be a man. Right. You have to make your first sale on a business. You have to do, a year in the military. You have to do something to kill the boy inside of you or put away your childish things. Exactly, like a rite of initiation. And I think men today have zero. But you look at women, and the difference is with women naturally have a rite of passage into womanhood. The moment women start to bleed and menstruate, they've got to mature. That's their responsibility. You've got to learn to clean yourself. You've got to learn your fertility each month and your cycle and everything. That takes maturity. That kind of makes you grow up. You're not a kid anymore. What do men have? Nothing. Because on the other hand, men, we are at testosterone. It's flowing through our veins, and it's natural for young guys to be lustful. But until you learn to master that energy, you will be a slave to it. And self-control is extremely important for your development into manhood. I think you can't really, you can call yourself a male, but you can't call yourself a man unless you have your emotions, your anger, lust, all of these different things, all of your emotions under control. You need that. And I think semen retention for me really taught me that this is an energy that you must tame. You're always going to be fighting with it, but unless you tame it, it's going to dictate your life. And when you're lustful, you can't even interact with women from an honest perspective, because you're in the back of your mind, your ulterior motive is always going to be, I need sex. So you're going to play games, you're going to be manipulative, you're never going to be real. But when you take that lust away and you know how to lock it away and kind of cage it, guess what? Like, once you wipe away all of the dirt out of your eyes, now you see things clearer. Now you can show up and be genuine. Now you can communicate more effectively. Now you can give your best self to people. And not only that, nobody can manipulate you. As you mentioned, you're not going to be controlled because you got your lust, you got your emotions under control. That's powerful. And most guys don't ever do that. So not just that, but having your lust under control means when you enter the dating market and you want to meet a woman, now it's almost like you will naturally raise your standards, because now it's like you will actually pay attention to red flags. Whereas before you think she's cute, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if she's got this, this, and this. Now you develop naturally more confidence. So I think overall, it's a huge waste of energy for young men to constantly just release their seed. And I think if you do practice that to a degree, it's beneficial.
Mm-hmm.
And you, as you mentioned, like you'll max out, you'll feel more powerful, all of these wonderful benefits. And I think every man should definitely try it, especially guys that are addicted to porn, or they're lonely, or let's say somebody, they've always been involved in casual sex, and they need to detox and reprogram their brain. Definitely should give it a go. You know, especially if you're somebody who's very impulsive, you tend to make decisions on a whim, you have poor self-control, even in other areas, because when you master it in one area, it tends to almost like a chain effect, and you better yourself in other areas. You know, I quit alcohol in 2017. I haven't had a sip since. So for me, I went cold turkey. It was easy for me to do. I've been doing intermittent fasting since 2016. So I mastered my hunger, and I love to eat very, very healthy, very clean. So for me, it's actually at the point where I enjoy it. I actually enjoy it. So if I could master hunger and I could master, drink, well, then the next step was obviously mastering lust.
Yeah.
And it's like little things like that. So overall, I'd say mastering semen retention is definitely important.
Well, I'd say that's the highest leverage thing you can do. Like if you can master lust, the most strongest desire you have, then at that point you should be able to conquer anything, really, and yourself.
Exactly.
I think once you master lust, you've kind of mastered yourself in a sense.
Yeah.
It's interesting because a lot of the top individuals, like yourself, myself, other people I know, people I surround myself with, we all have this tendency that we all do NoFap, or at least on it, or have, do you know what I mean? Understand it and respect.
You're on a completely different wavelength to other men, 100%. And you can just see it.
But that is exactly why people aren't on NoFap, because if everyone was acting like us and thinking like us, we would be living in a completely different world. Everyone would be different.
Absolutely. Most people they're enslaved by their feelings.
Yeah.
And it's not just that, because lust really isn't a good feeling, because it's, at the end of the day, it's a selfish emotion. It's just about you.
Absolutely.
And like you're not like, you can be in a relationship and you can have lust for the woman, and that's more of like a symptom of a man being in limerence.
Right.
Because when you love someone, love isn't just a feeling, it's a choice, it's a commitment, it's loyalty, it's every day you have to constantly water that plant. It takes dedication. And it's not necessarily that you're sacrificing yourself, but you are almost committing yourself in a way that it requires all of who you are, and you need to give. The more you give, the more you put in something, the more you receive in return. So it's a win-win. But when it's lustful, it's just selfishness. It's just take. And that drains you eventually.
Drains you, and it drains the other person too, I believe.
Exactly.
You're almost taking a piece of their soul and just having your fun with it and then leaving it to the side, that's semen retention. Do you want to go to the next topic?
Yeah, sure.
So the importance of masculine and feminine polarity between couples. So I'm interested to hear what you have to say about this.
Well, this is that yin and yang. It's that dance between the sexes. And we've all heard the saying, right? Opposites attract. And people think it's personality crap. You need compatibility. You need to have the same outlook on life, the same worldview on politics, religion, a belief system. All of that you need to mesh with, right? It's common sense that, a drug dealer and a pastor are not going to be compatible, or a Christian and a Muslim are not going to make a good couple. It's just common sense. Somebody who's a gym goer who eats clean is not going to get on well with a partner who sits on the couch, goes to McDonald's, is overweight, and your lifestyles are different. You're not gonna share the same interests. You're not gonna bond. You're not gonna understand each other. So those things are important. But when we talk about differences, the opposites attract. That's masculinity and femininity. That's the opposite magnet. That's essential, because men and women, we're different. Okay, male and female, we're unique traits, unique qualities, from the shape of our brains to the way we process emotions, physical strength. I mean, our hormones, our bones. I mean, an archaeologist digs up your bones 100, 500 years from now, just from your skull, female, everything they can, is it a man or is it a woman? So from on a large scale to the very smallest atom, we're unique. And most men have a belief now that, oh, there can be men that have feminine traits, and I'm completely against that. I think if a man has any resemblance of femininity, there's something wrong there. And it's the same thing for women that have anything in them that's masculine. The only feminine side you should have is a woman, and the only masculine side a woman should have is her man. So why are we seeing so many people in a relationship where it starts out well, the guy's confident, he's masculine, he leads, right? He's cocky, he's got the charm, he's aloof, he puts her in her place, he calls her out in a respectful manner, and she's attracted to that. He's got his friends, he's got his career, he's got his purpose. She wants to be a part of his life because he's complete. He doesn't actually need her. He's not needy, he's not insecure. And funnily enough, it naturally makes her feminine. And what happens to most guys? They get into the relationship, they're always around the woman, and it's important to give your woman your presence and your time, but being around your woman isn't going to make you masculine.
Cool.
A lot of the times, the more time you spend around her, if you're only around her, eventually you'll become soft because you get to your comfort zone. You're not challenging yourself. You're not focusing on your career anymore, on your business. You're not learning, you're not growing, you're not expanding. You kind of tell your mates, oh, I'm not going to see you guys today, I'll see you later. And then it becomes you haven't seen them in 3 months. What happens to that man? Now he starts to become insecure. He gets into scarcity. He thinks, oh no, she's the best thing that's happened to me, which is a lovely thing to believe. And mutually, you should both feel that way.
Yeah.
But she starts to realize this guy doesn't have a life outside of me. She doesn't have any time and space to miss him or wonder about him. So she starts to test him. Is he that same guy I met? He starts to fail because he's fearful. She pulls away even more. He chases after. It depolarizes. He becomes the woman in the relationship. He becomes relationship focused. Now she wants to focus more on her life outside. And there's a switch. And most men, that's where they fail. I mean, you can have a good woman. If you do that, that's what will happen. And that's why it's so important as a man to understand that to be masculine, not only do you need to be working on something that you're passionate about, but you need to be around other men. You need to have a community or a tribe or a group of men that can hold you accountable, because it's bumping heads with other men. It's being around. It sharpens you, and that's essential. Masculine men need to make fellowship with other men.
Yeah, we grow from challenge. Like we grow from like being challenged by one another. Where
challenge,
a woman,
adversity, difficulty, you need that. Absolutely.
But women grow from praise and looking nice and validation, and things like that.
Praise, affection, exactly. So, and a lot of this is, and most men and women think that, oh, we're the same, so the same rules apply. When it's like men and women are different, and you need to understand that. You need to have a healthy understanding of yourself and of women. And there's many different ways why men, they become depolarized. In other words, they will enter a relationship in a feminine way because they grew up in a home that was broken and they haven't healed from it. Or most men grow up, hey, they have no dad. Or all the teachers at school were women. At university, all were women. They're always around sisters and girls. They're not around men. So they develop a way of thinking that's feminine.
Yep.
They've not brought out their masculinity. It's shut down somewhere. It's somewhere down there, but it's shut down. So they get into a relationship and they're just soft and they're fearful. And they're covert, they're passive, they're not direct and overt as men should be. And they don't know how to carry themselves. And they don't know why they keep attracting these masculine, bossy, feminist type of women and they're unhappy. And it's no different than women growing up. And funnily enough, it's almost like similar, because a woman grows up without a father figure. She has to take on a masculine role because there's no men to protect her, keep her safe. There's no environment for her to be feminine. And then she gets influenced by feminism, which tells her that she doesn't need a man. She should reject her femininity. She shouldn't want to be a wife or a mother. She should just be a career woman. And she turns away from the qualities that are innate to her. So her femininity shuts down, and she walks around almost hardened, where she needs to be tough and strong. If she grew up in a rough neighborhood, or she grew up in an abusive home, she needs to be strong and tough because she can't trust in others.
Mm-hmm.
So what type of men is she going to get involved with? Men that are weak, men that she can push over. And then she doesn't understand why her relationships keep failing. So it's important to understand that men and women, we're different.
Yeah, 100%.
And that men need to show up. You need to be masculine in every way, in the way you think, the way you walk, the way you behave, in every aspect. There should be no femininity. And if there is, that you need to start thinking, trace it back to an origin point. Where's this coming from? Because it's not natural. It never is.
Very fascinating.
What are your thoughts on that? Do you think,
Yeah, I think there's always going to be a polarity. There's always going to be a fight for, it's a seesaw. So someone's always going to be masculine, always going to be more feminine, whether that's the man or the woman, that's up to them. But as a man, you will bring out the best in the relationship if you are fulfilling your masculine role. And the more masculine you are, the more she falls into her feminine. And this polarity essentially is like, the more you can be masculine, you'll find that the more she's into you, that she loves you, that she's open to you. You know, when it's a switch, a woman's going to be, like you said, more domineering, bossing you around. Because someone has to fulfill the role. Someone has to fill the masculine role. So if you're not making the decisions, if you're not being the leader, she's going to go, well, if you're not, I will, because she has needs and whatnot. And yeah, I think that's a good point. And also what you said as well, where, yeah, like the broken homes and stuff, the women build up this masculine side of them. It's the same with women that have maybe been screwed over by a lot of guys or stuff. They start to build up these walls, these masculine walls, because at the end of the day, for the feminine core, from my understanding, is pure open heart, pure openness, right? And that's why, so for example, the book, The Way of the Superior Man, it says about how a young woman, that one. Yeah, it's an amazing book, but a young woman
David Data, awesome.
Yeah, it's brilliant. But like, a young woman is so healing just for a typical man to be around, because she's so pure in her feminine energy. It's so healing to the masculine. But because she's young, she hasn't been tampered with. She's like a blank canvas. She's like a brand new car straight out the factory. So you just admire it. You're like, wow, look at this beautiful thing. But over time, someone buys it, someone gets in it, misuses it, scratches it, dents it, and then eventually it's no longer that same car, which is sad. But it doesn't mean to say it can't be mended and healed, but like you said, it's going to be difficult. It's going to be work done to it to be repaired, and it's going to need someone to drive it who's going to take care of it, and that's going to be a man who's actually like has values, and like I said, like lives righteously and wants to do good. But it's just sad because there are so many beautiful young women that are just pure feminine, and they go into this messed up, degenerate world, and they get destroyed, and then they end up being grumpy, miserable, like very low energy, just live for the luxuries in life, and they forget what it means to be a woman is to bring up a family and bring up children. But yeah, that's kind of what I think.
And, absolutely, I agree with you 100%. And that's why the old saying, it says, you can't teach an old dog new tricks. It's easier to raise the next young generation of men and women on the way they should go than somebody who's 30, 40, 50, bitter, angry because they can't go back to their youth. In our age, in our 20s, we're lucky, because having this knowledge at a young age, it sets you up, and it becomes the way you think. And in a way, you're almost at an advantage, because most people, they spend most of their adulthood mending from all the problems that they've created or their parents created in them from their childhood. And when you're always fixing your problems, you never have a time to breathe and enjoy life and get to a place where you can enjoy, something fruitful from creating something wonderful or being around good people. So I think as young men, it's important, as even for women, if any women are listening, to guard your heart and be very, very selective of who you let in. Bad company corrupts good morals. And surround yourself by good men, if you're a man, or a woman by good women. And from then, if you are young and you feel like you have that maturity, especially as a man, because unless you've mastered your lust, you've got your life in somewhat in order, you're never going to be fit to lead a woman. You need to enter the dating market knowing what you're looking for. I know that one day I'd like to be a father or a husband. So you already know, you're already entering knowing what qualities you're looking for. If you want to buy a car, you don't just go and just, you know exactly which model you want. You know it to a T. So you're not wasting your time. So then it makes it easier for you to make your list, green flags, red flags, what to look for, what to avoid. You're not going to settle, you're not going to waste your time because you've got one life and it's precious. You don't want to experiment with your life and screw up because that's going to require even more fixing. So you want to be very cautious. Now, that's pretty much it. You know, it's up to you in that regard, because as men, when you're in a relationship with a woman, one of the worst things, and this most likely spells the death of the relationship, is when your woman has to tell you how to be a man. Because women absolutely detest being in their masculine. And funnily enough, because I read this a long time ago in the Bible, it says, God despises nations where they allow men, women, and children to lead, and they put men in the back burner. Women are never in no position to lead a man or teach a man or tell him what to do. It's the other way around. Because when it comes to physicality, who's going to protect who? So this is why, as men, you have to be double time on making sure you know yourself very well. You know how to present yourself and you know how to lead. You can't fail in that regard. If not, you just can't be ready for a relationship. You can't sit there and, where are we going to go to eat? What do you want to do every day? You can't be like that. You have to have your principles and your morals that guide you, not your feelings. And you have to lead with a mission, a purpose. You already know who you are. So naturally, she knows, okay, I need to support this man. I need to submit to him. I know in which area I should make his life easier. And what do? You protect her, you provide for her. And in return, she submits and supports you. It's that yin and yang that goes into the polarization. You're masculine, she's feminine. And unless you understand that on a deep level, men are always going to struggle, because they're going to be in a relationship and thinking, what did she mean by that? What did she say? When you're masculine, you understand. You don't need to ask questions, you know. You can feel it. You can see it.
Fascinating. Yeah. Well, just quickly, like what you said at the start about guarding your heart. It's like, there's just a saying that came to my head was, the most beautiful gardens have the tallest fences, you know, which I think is a good saying. But anyway, on top of that, what I say is, especially like in my own relationship, if I was to just point this out, is the way women, like, I mean, obviously at the end of the day, women either have a career, let's say, or work a lot and do a lot of work, tend to, especially with my girlfriend, I noticed when she like finished she's a nurse, right? She works long 12-hour shifts or whatever, 13-hour shifts. When she finishes that, because she's almost forced into a masculine mindset with the job, when she comes back, it takes me a good hour just to get her back into that feminine state, like, and it's just hard work. It's just like, damn, like,
you know what, that's it, but that's a good thing for you as well.
It's a challenge, because and I love a bit of challenge.
Exactly, because you're on top of it, and the fact that you get to make her open up, let her talk, you bring her back into your femininity. The key is you are bringing her back into her femininity, because women are always going to need guidance from a man. When they're single, they need their fathers, and when they're in a relationship, they need their man. You look at women today that have no man. They have no father figure. They've got no uncle, no grandfather, no older brother, no older cousin, no nothing. And you look how those women live. You look how they end up hurting themselves. So there you have it. You bring her back into her femininity. And that's why, as a man, you can't be a bitch. You can't be complaining. You can't be moaning and whinging.
Because if you do that, how is she gonna rely on you? Like, she wants to rock. She wants to come to you and be able to just throw everything at you, and you just stand there and go, it's okay, babe, like, it's fine, everything's fine.
Okay, you can't. That's why And that's a very solid relationship rule, which you'll see when my book's out, and I go through it. You never make your woman your mummy or your therapist. Now, there are certain situations when, obviously, as a man, you're going to be in peril. Your father passes away, or your best mate gets hit by a car, your lifelong pet dies, you get diagnosed with a terminal illness, you're in a bad accident, you suffer a traumatic experience, there's war or something, and there's just moments where you're bad. That's out of your control. You didn't cause those problems. If you're brought down and you break down emotionally in a situation like that as a man, that's the exception. In those cases, a good woman, she will understand that because she has sympathy for you. She will nurture you and kind of be there for you in a way.
Yeah.
But the difference is
the problem,
and that's valid, but the problems happen when things are going bad in your personal life, in your career, with your friends, with your family, but it's things that are in your control that you can change or fix. When you come home and you start moaning, complaining, whinging, throwing a fit, venting over things that are in your power to give a solution to, that becomes a problem. And that's when a lot of guys screw up. If you want to vent to your mates, vent to your friends.
Like you said, though, they are like safe haven,
Exactly, because your woman, she needs to see in a moment of difficulty, how do you handle things? Because ultimately she knows if you can tough through obstacles or challenges you're facing and you handle them as a man without groveling or whining, you just get it done. You're just a man, you're taking action. That is when she will support you the most. That is when she will gain more respect for you because she sees, oh my goodness, this guy is actually handling things as he's supposed to. He's not coming to me and whining because she can't fix it. She can't help you in that regard. It's not her problem. So when she sees you're handling your whatever you're facing, that's when she'll support you. That's when she'll be by your side because you're being masculine in the situations where you should present your masculinity the most. And that she'll love you more, she'll respect you more, she'll admire you more, and she'll actually trust in your leadership. So when things actually return to normal, babe, we're doing this today. There's no talk back because she knows this guy, I can trust him. But when she sees you crying, you're whining, you're moaning about things you're facing, she's going to sit there and think, well, I can't help him. She may try once or twice, but eventually she'll start to realize this guy he's not reliant. I can't rely on him. If I'm ever in physical danger, he can't stand up for me. He can't protect me because he's not sorting things out for himself. What type of man is this? And she's going to lose attraction. I mean, think 20 years from now, 25 years from now, you have a daughter and she tells you that her boyfriend is crying, whinging and complaining. What would you tell her to do with that guy?
I'd be like, maybe this guy isn't the best person to be looking after my daughter. There
you go.
Absolutely.
And it all bounces off of your energy. Like, absolutely, to a degree, she's responsible for her own femininity. But when she's in a relationship, her submission is a gift to you. It's the ultimate love from a woman to say, I trust you with my heart, don't step on it. Mm-hmm. And submission from a woman can only be given when your dominance is received. And dominance isn't your controlling behavior, it's your leadership. It's your ability to open her up. It's your words and your actions match. You're strong, you get things done.
That's what I would say, is the fact that for me, my relationship where I'm at is one thing she knows is that, like, what I say, I mean, like, I'm a man of my word, and I've absolutely broken my back to just keep that respect, to keep that reputation, because everything I've ever said I'm going to do, I've done. And a lot of the time, like, for example, when you said there's problems or whatever, like, for me, I'll if there's a problem, let's say, I'll say, listen, okay, yes, I understand something's not right, but I'm working on it. I'm figuring it out. Like, I say to him, like, just give me time. Like, I understand that it's not right now, but trust me, I'm working on it. Just have faith in me. And lo and behold, a month, 2 months goes by, and I say to her, what did I tell you? I said, just wait. Like I said, look back. Things have progressed because at the end of the day, you do lead the relationship as a man. Like, you are in control of everything. You just do. Like, there is literally no excuse. As a man, you have to understand that you have all the power. You hold the keys to the relationship.
Yeah.
There is no relationship without you.
Exactly.
She's got
She
the
only has any
sex.
power
What do
if
you
you give
fucking
it to
do?
her.
She's got sex. Oh, great. We do no fap. We don't care about sex. We hold the keys to relationship. Every woman deep down wants a relationship. That's, like you said, that's their feminine energy. And you hold the power to that. But what I've learned is, yes, like, it's interesting because even myself, I haven't quite appreciated that dominance as a man is, like you said, opening a woman up into her femininity and being able to break down these little barriers. And it's interesting because I know in my relationship, my girlfriend tells me, she's like, you literally just, I can't get away with anything. She's like, even if I'm feeling down tiny bit, you pick up on it. Or even if something's wrong, you just know. It's like, it's impossible. Like, I can't get away with anything. And maybe that is just being in tune with.
It's essential because once you are, you establish yourself as the leader, not by brute force or by, making threats or anything that weak men would do, but by naturally just being a man. And when she knows that you can open her up, this kind of almost invites her to keep coming back to you when there's difficulty or problems, which makes her bond with you on a deeper level. And it's really what should be happening. She should be running to you with all her problems. I mean, you look at girls when they're young, they've got a problem, they run to their dad, sit on their dad's lap, cry, it's all right, honey, she feels okay. She goes, off she goes. And it's the same thing. They almost look for that as they get older in a partner.
But you should feel, as a man, like, if your girlfriend does come to you with genuine problems, you should feel so honored that you are providing that space for her, that you're definitely doing something right. Because if she feels that she can open herself up deeply, but at the same time, you almost have a responsibility when she's coming to you with these problems. It's not your job to, literally, you don't, like, this is the thing, you don't have to fix the problem. You don't have to do anything. All you have to do is listen. Just listen to her and be like,
make her feel heard and understood.
Yeah,
that's it.
And just reciprocate and be like, I understand, and bring some, change her mood, not her mind. Forget logic. Logic will not create attraction. You cannot negotiate attraction. You need to pierce her with your love. You need to just break her out of this.
Be present. Just be present with her. Be present with her. Let her talk. Reciprocate a little bit back. If she does go deeper, you can say, do you want me to listen? Would you want my advice? And typically when she's done, you're going to hear one of those magical phrases, I feel so much better, or I love you, she'll give you a kiss, she'll be physical, thank you so much. And then again, when she feels open, when she feels heard and understood, obviously then she opens up to you physically. Because, as men, we would much prefer to open up. Well, we feel open when we're physical. Women need to already be open before they're physical.
Exactly that.
So it's very important. So that's the polarization. You have to be a man. So for any guy watching thinking, I'll let her be a man in some zero. She should be zero man, zero. She should be the woman 100%. And most of that is your responsibility. Yeah, if you try and date a woman and she's like a feminist and she's got like barbed wire and walls and things that have been put up for like years, it may be a little bit difficult. It's obviously going to be better naturally.
That's like buying a car that's damaged already. It's ruined. What do you expect?
You're much better off. Exactly. You're much better off going for a woman that is already feminine. She already believes in traditional gender roles. She has the same values as you, because it's just going to be easier. And especially when a woman's genuinely attracted to you, again, attraction is not a choice. It simply is or isn't. And only if there is attraction can you raise it. Pretty simple. So yeah, it's very important to understand polarity, because it all plays off of the energy and the way you carry yourself.
What I'd add to that is what you said about the feminism thing. It's like a feminist woman, like you said, that she's got all these bars up, but the truth is, deep down in her core, regardless of all this conditioning she's had over years, she does like her deep, because what you say, to be feminine and to have these values, is actually just in their DNA, somewhere in there deep down. It's just so many years of conditioning has hidden it. It's the same with men. A lot of, let's say feminized men, or I could say, like, growing up, like, just think about when in schools that fight breaks out, everyone comes over to watch, like all the boys are watching, like people watch this fight, and it's like guys that are kind of timid, it kind of gives them a bit of like, like that's just that's the masculine essence kind of surfacing. But because they've been so conditioned, they haven't been able to get in touch with it. And it just goes the same for a feminine woman. Trust me, take any feminist and give her the most masculine man, I guarantee she folds. I guarantee you all the feminist bullshit she's got, she will fold because that's her DNA. Her DNA will force her to be that way.
Yeah, if she's genuinely attracted to that man, and he's he's strong, absolutely. Obviously, it will take work. Now, it just goes without saying that, unfortunately, a lot of those women, everyone can heal if they have awareness, but most of them, they stay stuck in that almost like a curse in a way, and they just like a world of problems, and they almost self-destruct. So you're much better off going for a woman that is naturally feminine. And a lot of guys, because they like the challenge, they think, oh, I'm going to go for women that have all these problems, and then it's like a badge of honor. You can try that if you want. You can experiment if you want. It's just not worth it, because there's women out there that you can have a clean slate with. You can start fresh, and they have better morals, and it's overall going to be easier.
Interestingly enough, I mean, I'll just add that I myself have actually met what I would call a feminine woman just by pure nature, because when I met her, she was so young, and she just no one had really been there, let's just say. And I can see how that openness is there, that pure energy, that kind of just nurturing, just everything that is beautiful about women was there just by default. And it was just given to me so openly, with open arms. And I just think to myself, that is the essence of that's how it should be, really. I think, it's just like you said, the culture that's just destroyed people, women, men and women.
We'll get to that in a second.
Well, I don't know. I think I'll have to go at 6 o'clock, so we might have to do a part 2.
Okay, sounds good to me. I would love to carry it on.
I guess we could.
How much time you got?
I mean, I got about 5 minutes or so.
Dangers of red flags in women.
Oh yeah, we could do some of those. Go on.
Dangers of red flags in women.
They're bullet points, really.
Yeah, it's organized perfectly. The way you wrote it is just structured, because then it ends on a good note, right? Ends on righteousness.
Yeah.
Okay, so red flags. So I'm gonna read this very quickly. I've taken a few screenshots from my book, and I should read a little bit on red flags.
Go on.
So, red flags are behaviors or situations that indicate that the other person is not capable of being in a relationship because they are a danger not only to yourself, but to themselves. Red flags are not always automatic deal breakers, because things that are deal breakers call for the immediate termination of the relationship. Red flags are warning signs that there could be a problem. Dismissing red flags will always lead to disaster. The red flags you ignore at the beginning become the deal breakers in the end. You must disqualify women from your life. In order to be successful in choosing a good quality woman, you must learn the signs that indicate that she is not relationship material. Red flags are simply warnings that the woman is using you, not interested, damaged goods, or has severe character flaws that prevent her from being a great long-term partner. It's your duty as a man to observe her behavior from the very first time you date and interact with her, and take the time to gauge her interest level, her character, her values, and lifestyle. You must continue to discern qualities as the weeks and months of dating slowly transition into a relationship. You're not dating a pretty face or a beautiful body, you're dating a values, morals, characters, or lack thereof. Average men and women tend to settle in relationships, and this is why it's your responsibility to proceed with caution and use your logic to determine if she's a good match to you. Only after the honeymoon phase will her true colors start to show. This is exactly why you never want to marry or move in with a woman until you have spent many years in a relationship and making sure she displays consistency in her communication, respect, and attitude towards you. Both men and women are on their best behavior in the early stage because they want to impress their new love interest, and so much so that they tend to project their fantasy onto the other person and ignore and avoid any red flag that show up because they are totally infatuated and full of limerence. Nearly done here. During the dating stage, it's very easy to be caught up in your emotions and the newness of romance. If you're a man and you're not used to dating women that you would consider to be 9s and 10s, or you suffer from low self-esteem, it will be even harder to see things clearly when you are around a beautiful woman. Looks can be deceiving, but yet you are responsible for the quality of woman that you choose. A man that is masculine, confident, and complete, and who has high self-esteem will have standards and expect the best from a woman, because a man who has options in his life will never settle for a low-quality woman. Think about it for a moment. If you are an awesome catch, you're not going to give your heart away so quickly. She must earn your love, affection, and attention. One thing I've noticed from my own experience and from those I have coached is that red flags are always present at the beginning of the dating phase. But most men are so wrapped up in their own lust that they end up overlooked. This will only end up hurting them down the road. The reason I want you to pay attention to red flags and to disqualify certain women from your life is to keep you from harm's way. Take a moment to look at the state of relationships in the West, with divorce at an all-time high, infidelity becoming more common, single parents, children growing up in broken homes, increase of domestic violence, toxic and abusive relationships. All of this can be avoided if you take the time to determine the qualities of the woman you are dating. If you spot any red flags, you must have the courage to walk away. Many men have fallen victim due to their emotional attachment and ruined their lives by getting involved with bad women. It's far easier to walk away in the early stages before the emotional attachment forms, instead of finding yourself stuck in a 3, 5, or 10-year relationship where you are emotionally invested. This is why I want you to understand the red flags listed below and internalize them, so that when you start dating a new woman, you are mentally and emotionally prepared to disqualify her if red flags present themselves. And then I go through a set of red flags, which I'm obviously not going to describe: narcissistic women, emotionally immature women, women that have unresolved childhood trauma, women that have not recovered from a past relationship because they'll rebound on you, women that hang around bad women, or women that are a bad influence to them, women that are addicted to drugs and alcohol and other substance abuse, women that have extreme mental health disorders. You're getting into BPD, schizophrenia, mood disorders, things that make them a danger. Like, they're just not stable. Obviously, you can get into women that have unhealed from a promiscuous past, women that can't pair bond, women that are feminists. And also, goes without saying, women that are in a relationship or a marriage and looking to cheat. And obviously, I go through a few more, but I go into detail on each one.
Yeah, we could definitely talk more about that. Well, we'll follow on, and next time we'll follow on from that, and you can go deeper on all of those red flags, because I think your knowledge is just second to none. Like, if there's one person I watch that I just think, wow, this guy really, he has just, I don't know you. Like, I just know your content. I just think you have some wisdom. You really do. How you know this stuff. You've taken the time. You have taken the time to really understand this on a very, very deep level and look at everything. And I think you've just put it all together, and you just know what's right.
That's the way you can save yourself. You can create a world of happiness, because if you're a young man, and if you actually find a good woman and you build a connection from a young age, having a lifelong partner, that's actually a beautiful thing. That's great.
Yeah.
If you have a good woman by your side, obviously your life is somewhat in order. If she, as a woman, she makes your life easier, she's supportive of you, she's your biggest cheerleader, she's your aide, your most trusted confidant, that's a wonderful thing. It's good teamwork. It's a great asset to have in your life. And it's also someone that is there for you in your time of need. And especially when you're young and you're building yourself up, if you've got a good woman and she's there when you're not, fully established, then she's with you for the right reasons. And she deserves everything once your legacy is set up, because then she'll bring you children, which is another side of having a legacy and a family. And all the while, you've built yourself up as a leader, you're respectable. And it's so important, because it's all in the red flags, because some women generally have none. All you're going to see is green, and then you're ready to go. It's safe to court that woman. That's very important. And we'll get into that.
Yeah,
and I would like to hear your thoughts on that.
What now?
No, not now.
I gotta go. But
no, I know you got to go.
Honestly,
I really enjoyed that.
That was great. I think we're on the same page in the way we think, and I think this is information that's powerful. I agree. And I think people are going to want to hear this, especially because I don't actually know how old you are. How old are you, by the way?
Well, I'm going to be 24 in 5th of Feb. Coming up soon.
Cool. So we're in our 20s. You know, we still got time to save ourselves. I'm sure you
Still got
already
time.
have.
Still got time.
But yeah,
Still got time.
anyway, yeah.
You learn this at an earlier age. You learn this at an earlier age. It will set you up for greater things. Because then this is like generational wisdom that you can pass down. You know, your kids, your grandkids. It's just butterfly effect. It helps everybody else. That's what makes it so important. Ben, absolutely loved it.
Oh, it's been a pleasure.
All the keynotes you said, really, really, really wonderful, really enriching.
Thank you.
Always a pleasure, always an honor. And I look forward. So whenever you're ready again, we will continue on from here.
Yeah, hopefully. I mean, I'll let you know. I mean, I'll hopefully very soon. I'm not going to wait around on this one.
Perfect. Yeah, this is a good one. So are you going to upload this one like part 1? And then...
Yeah, this will be part 1. This will be part 1. I'll title it the first 2 points, and I'll say part 1, and then we'll do the part 2.
Awesome, cool. Ben. Perfect. Right, mate.
Been a pleasure. I'll speak to you soon.
All right. Love you.
Take care. Thank you.
Lovely.
Cheers.
Lovely.
Thank you very much. See you in a bit, bye.